morning and welcome to Workforce Observer. We are so pleased to have with us Tinisha Bookhart. She's a partner at Primary Talent Partners, a staffing firm headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina. Tinisha is also Director of IT and Consulting. Among other efforts, Primary Talent Partners is committed to increasing Black STEM candidates in the workforce. Welcome, Tinisha. I'm glad you made the time to do this with us.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation.
So let's talk a little bit about the primary talent model, your strategy, and the why behind it, the philosophy, the approach.
Absolutely. So Primary Talent Partners, we are based out of Charlotte, North Carolina, as you said. And one of the things that we do from a strategy perspective, we have centralized our recruiting. We have an onshore centralized recruiting center where all of our recruiters are centrally located. That allows us to support our MSPs. So we mainly support MSPs, and having that centralized recruiting office allows us to staff up to support our clients. And we can kind of staff up to about 70%. And that keeps us from having to overstaff in certain markets. And so as the market ebbs and flows, having that centralized recruiting center really just allows us to accommodate the ebbs and flows of the market while also supporting our MSP partners wholly.
So you get more recruiters when there's a need, and when you don't need, you don't get recruiters. So your recruiters are also on a contractual basis?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, our recruiters are full-time. They're all full-time FTEs with Primary Talent Partners. But what it does is it allows us, we have different teams or pods within our recruiting centers. So let's just say MSP1 has a lot of different jobs that our recruiters need to support, but MSP2 doesn't have a lot of them. We're able to take recruiters from another team to help support the other team. And so that way we have that synergy internally, and it allows for us to kind of support that bandwidth as it increases or decreases at any given time.
Got it. I'm glad you clarified because I wasn't sure what you meant. And where is this recruiting center? Is it also in Charlotte? Or
It is.
It is. And how many recruiters do you have? You can just say upwards of if you don't want to give out the exact number.
Oh, gosh, that's a great question. I don't know our current recruiter count, and that's probably a bad thing that I don't know that.
That's all right. I mean, I'm assuming you have a fair number of recruiters. And
yes, we do. Yes, we do. Because we have quite a fair number of MSPs that we support. So we definitely need to make sure that we have the team to be able to support all of them and each of the clients within each of those MSPs.
At one point in time, like an MSP, what is the requirement? Say you're satisfying an MSP, and the MSP says like, "Oh, this is a big job, and we need to fill X positions." How many positions would that be? Just give me an example. How many positions?
Each of our MSPs and each of the clients within the MSP actually have different requirements. I know right now one of the biggest requirements that we have, not from a number of jobs perspective, but just in how we fulfill our orders for that client. So right now, as you know, diversity, a lot of CEOs are focused on diversity in that regard. And so some of them want to see more candidates that represent the communities that they serve and they support. And so our model, we pride ourselves on being able to provide diverse talent. We provide top talent. So I'll start there. Our main goal, the name of our company is Primary Talent Partners. So we are the source for primary talent. So we focus on that first. And it just so happens that our primary talent and our the talent that we are able to provide to our partners are diverse. And that's just because of where and how we source. And how and that's what makes us a differentiator, honestly, because the one thing that we do, we have different diversity programming. Our diversity programming has evolved, and it's multi-pronged. One, we partner with HBCUs, so historically Black colleges and universities. We focus on the mid-tier levels, and these are going to be schools that are not necessarily household names. So everybody knows the Howards, the Spelmans, the Morehouse, the Hamptons, Florida A&M.
Sure.
they're being sponsored and heavily sponsored by a lot of corporate clients. But the smaller schools, Harris-Stowe University, Johnson C. Smith University, Claflin University, these are some of our top schools that we support and we partner with. Those are not household names. They're not getting and receiving the same level of sponsorship and
Right.
and money for support at their university that the bigger schools are, and that's
Right.
where we are. So we partner with the schools. We have relationships with the deans. We can help influence the curriculum if there's certain certifications that we find that our clients need and that they're moving into a certain direction. Let's just say cybersecurity. We can offer those certifications at the university, or at least suggest to the deans that they need to go and request that certification for their students, and they'll pursue that.
Wow.
In a,
I don't want to stop your flow, but I have a question just to
sure.
clarify. So these people are all, it's a 4-year program, right?
Yes.
So they are undergrads. So these are Black students, correct? Or is it just not Black? It's
Yes,
different
some of them are Black,
minorities,
some of them are Latino.
different
We have,
minority groups there.
yes, different minority groups and
Okay.
female as well. So
Okay. And then these people you put into, I mean, they're Black STEM roles. I mean, not Black, different STEM roles, diverse STEM roles, correct? So both you have diverse hiring and the roles are also like across different, I'm assuming, different skill sets. Can you just give me an example of those, some of those roles which you commonly hire for?
absolutely. So when we first started our diversity programming, we really focused on STEM. Over the years, we have grown and have been able to expand to more than just STEM. So a lot of our placements have been from a cybersecurity perspective, a life science perspective,
Okay.
engineering,
Okay.
some even from a business perspective. We have a lot of our students right now that are enrolled in business programs. And so any type of our core areas are IT, engineering, life sciences, and professional services. And so any and all categories and job titles that kind of roll up under those 4 major areas are the areas that we support. And we also partner with the schools and deans and academic professors at the universities to support that as well.
When you say partner, what does it mean? Like you said, I heard partner, I heard support. Explain what that means to.
Absolutely. Great question. So it means a couple different things, right? So from a dean perspective, we partner with them to influence certification, influence the education, influence some of the curriculum that they may have based on specific client needs. From a student's perspective, we provide scholarships to those students to help them matriculate through college. We also provide mentorship to those students as well, because the last and final thing that we're most proud of is our Pathways program, which is where we provide internships, or we call them associateships, for those students, where they work with our clients either during the school year, during the summer, or a combination of both. And that way they are able to apply what they're learning in the classroom in a real world setting and gain that professional experience while they're pursuing their undergrad. And the reason why we found that to be so helpful is we find that those students that have applicable experience upon graduation, one, they're more likely to find a job upon graduation in the course of study that they pursued. But
Right.
secondarily to that, their income level and what they're able to earn is higher than somebody who does not have that experience. So we find that that program is very helpful. And it's also an incentive for that student to stay in school, because they see the potential, earning potential, and then also kind of realize what they're studying and the actualization of that. And so they get really inspired when they're able to put those two pieces together, the academic with the actual work of things. And so I find that they perform better. Although all the students that we work with are high achievers. So they typically have 3.4 and higher GPA. So they're pretty smart all on their own. And so we're just grateful that we can give them opportunities for employment to help them enforce what they're learning in the classroom.
Yeah. So you remember I was there at the beginning
Oh, yeah, you
when I
were.
spoke to Chad. So what prompted this?
So, the programming that we have around diversity was kind of inspired by my personal experience. So, I am a child of a single parent home, first generational college graduate. Of the two siblings that I have, I was the only one to attend college. My life looks a little different because of it. The what I found was that getting into college was easy. Staying in college is difficult because funding is definitely a gap, and so that's one of the things that are reasons why we offered scholarships to students, because I was able to receive scholarships, and that enabled me to stay in school. And what I also found was that the cooperative education that I also received, similar to internship, but a little different, because every other semester, instead of being in school, I was actually on site working with the client. That allowed me to stay in school and to help pay for school. It taught me how to budget because school was on my expense. And so
And
I didn't
and
have.
what was this program? It's obviously not primary talent program. So what kind of program was this? You said cooperative something.
Yeah,
Talk a
it's
little
called
bit
a
about that.
co-op. It's a
Okay.
cooperative education, and it was
Okay.
through my university, through the College of Computer Engineering.
And where did you go to school?
Clemson University in Clemson, South
Okay.
Carolina.
Yeah, yeah. So, and are people familiar with this? Like, uh,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Are staffing
Yeah,
firms familiar with cooperative programs like this?
that is a good question. I'm not sure if it's as widely known. I think because of my experience with it, I was able to bring that experience with me at Primary Talent Partners, and
Right.
let that be our differentiator. But that's kind of the impetus of how we came up with our diversity program. It's kind of mirrored after my experience in that way, and some of the gaps that I experienced. So the funding gap, the sense of not belonging, because, as a first generation college graduate, there really wasn't a model for me to follow, or
Fair.
shoe or path that I could follow, that someone else had walked for me and could kind of tell me which way to go. And so that's where the mentoring comes in, and why I felt it was so and why we felt it was so important to couple, not just throw money at a student and provide money, because I think that is helpful. But if we can help provide and supplement that with something a bit more substantial, and that's where the mentoring and the internships come in, because what I found was that it was easy for me to get a job in computer science when I graduated, because I had had that experience. So by the time I graduated Clemson, not only did I have my 4-year degree, but I also had 1 year professional experience working for a company in Atlanta, Georgia. And so that spoke volumes, because it showed the employer that, okay, not only is she competent in the classroom, but she actually knows how to work and contribute to the team, and to the initiatives of a corporation and work with a group.
Was it a corporation that you did in the internship with, or whatever you wanted the program with? Did they hire you, or did you have?
You know
Did you
what?
go?
They wanted to. I worked for, my co-op was with Bell South. They don't exist anymore. They later turned into AT&T, and they
Yes.
did. But instead of going to Atlanta, Georgia, I went further east and moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and I've been here ever since.
Oh, nice. That's a nice story. So, competition today. What is? And first, let's talk about two things actually: the recruiting market today, the challenges, and then your competition.
Sure. So, as you know, this has been a tough year. It's been a tough year for everybody from a recruiting and staffing perspective. And for us, it's
Right.
no different.
Right.
We have experienced growth, which is good. It hasn't
Right.
been tremendous. We have not hit our projections at all. But it is at least positive in a sense that, we're able to weather the storm even when things are a little rough. And we kind of attribute that to our size and to our staffing model. The
How
fact
big
that
is Surrey? How big are you? Again, you don't have to give numbers, but upwards of or would be helpful.
I'd say we're right about 25, 30 million as
Okay.
a company. So decent size. And so, but because of our staffing model, we're able to support and only need to ramp up from a recruiting perspective to about 70%. So when the market is low, and like I was sharing earlier, you have your teams that could support kind of support multiple teams when the market is high or when there's a lot of job recs to fill. And then when
Right.
they're not so big, then maybe you don't have as much as that. But I feel like that's one of the reasons why we've been able to weather the storm, but it has been challenging and we have not met projections. But the good news is that we continue to invest in the areas that we need to invest in because we also know that the market is cyclical, right? And we expect or
Yes.
anticipate, like everybody else, that, after the election and some uncertainty with that kind of goes away, we do expect and anticipate things to pick back up. And when it does, we'll be well positioned to handle those.
Onward and upward to 2025.
That's right.
All right. Competition. What does that look like?
Competition, you know what? There's competition in a lot of areas because, staffing is well saturated. And I think that's why we really put a focused effort initially on creating a differentiator. So technically on the surface, there are a lot of companies that do what we do and provide staffing services to clients and even to MSPs. But really and honestly, there aren't many people who do what we do, how we do it. And so I feel like that's what makes us different. That's what allows us to stand out. And that's what has allowed us to continue to experience some growth, even in a challenging market. So competition is stiff and it's tight as it always has been, just because staffing is so saturated. But I think who we are and what we do and the authenticity behind what we do, I think that shines and that allows us to stand out above the rest.
In some circles today, and I mean, you've seen the mainstream media and what they're saying about DE&I and what's going on. How do you work with that, or firstly, I mean, your whole premise is built on
Right.
diversity, and then there's all this chatter about, oh my God, no. So, tell me how you confront this.
So I guess our motto, I'll start by saying, doing the right thing doesn't go away.
Okay.
The purpose of our diversity initiatives has not been to take away from one group to elevate another. It's to provide opportunities and resources to all so that all can compete and compete on the same level.
Right.
It's never been about giving anyone a hand out or anything like that, or
Right.
even choosing someone lesser qualified to do the job. It's
Right.
really all of our placements are experienced talent. And if we're able to provide experienced talent, then it should not matter if they're diverse or not diverse. But if you want to provide diverse talent, then there are certain areas that you have to look in to provide that. Not everyone has access not to that talent. Not everyone even knows where to look. And I think that's where we shine. I honestly, diversity is no longer a sexy word. I think, during COVID, things kind of escalated to a point to where everybody got on the bandwagon when it came to diversity. And we're finding out today the people that it truly means something to versus those who were just doing it because everybody else was doing it. One of the things I said in the very beginning when we started this is it's who we are. It's not what we do. And so just because in the marketplace or at different tables, it's no longer the buzzword or, the latest trend, we're still going to keep doing what we do because we feel that it makes a difference.
And you're seeing the results. You're seeing people in
We are
jobs. You're
definitely
seeing
seeing the
people
results.
make money.
Yes.
And tell me, where do you find these people, and what do you do so that the people who have benefited from your programs, do they have an opportunity to give back? How does it work? Tell me, where do you
Yes.
find your?
Oh, that's a
Okay.
great question. So I'm glad you asked that.
Okay.
So it seems very round robin what I'm about to tell you, but if you can follow me, hopefully I can make this make sense.
Okay.
So our partnerships with HBCU, those are with students and kids who are in school, right? Those
Okay.
are not the people that we place. However, because of our relationships with the university, with those students, the alumni networks, all of their organizations, they have broad nets that they can cast in terms of connections. So it's all the networking that we get and that we're able to leverage through those relationships at those HBCUs is how we find our experienced talent. And that experienced talent is what we place with our clients. And so that's how we find our talent. We also
A
find
question. So, what would be an example of a partnership? Do you so you have it with a student at a HCB at the university, or is it someone who is teaching? Is it a combination of both?
it's all of the above. It's all of
Okay.
the above because
Okay.
we have the relationships with the faculty, we have the relationships with the students. And because of those relationships, the alumni notice, right? And so these are people that we've never interacted with, but because we are supporting their prior school, now they become supporters of us. And so it just gives us a broader net when we're out posting for jobs for our clients or there are different recs we need to fill based on that experienced talent. That's how we're able to tap into that because of
Right.
those larger networks.
Right. Right. Does it also help the often made claim, oh, staffing is so commoditized?
It does. Yeah.
Everybody's the same.
Yep.
What's really the difference? And we're talking about people here. So does that also help?
Yes, absolutely. Because staffing is relationship driven. And so what I just described to you was the relationships that we're building at the university because we're
Right.
making investments at the university, not just with the
Right.
student. So
Right.
we're making investments at the university. We're making investments with the students. All of those things really make a difference when it comes to the faculty and the staff at those universities and also their alumni. So
Right.
because staffing is relationship driven and we're so high touch in that way, I think those are other things and ways that makes us different.
Okay. So, you just said high touch relationship, but I'm going to bring it up. AI. Do you use any AI tools at all? Or is it you still, all of it is, like you said, relationships? So,
It's a combination of both because I don't think, in being in the IT industry myself,
yeah.
it's hard to not leverage technology for things,
Right.
right? So,
Right.
so we do to a degree, but then it's also very high touch. We try to not abandon one for the other, but do a nice
Right.
mix of both.
Okay. So you do use some AI tools then to maybe screen, some stuff at the back end.
Yes.
Okay. Challenges. What are your biggest challenges today?
The market. The market. I think,
Yeah.
I think that's our biggest challenge to date, the market.
Yeah.
We're not seeing as many job postings and able to fill as many jobs as we would like just because the throughput of what we're getting is not as high as what it usually is or what we hoped that it would be for this time of the year. So I
Right.
think that's our biggest challenge.
Okay. The MSP, the model. People have so much to say, specifically about the MSP. So tell me a little bit what your take is on the MSP, the model, and working with them, the different
So
ones.
we've had an excellent experience working with MSPs. That is how we started. That was our intent from the beginning. We do some direct sourcing and placement, but
Right.
our main focus is on MSPs. And I will say that if it wasn't for our initial investments with our MSPs, we work with quite a few now, but like I can think right offhand, Agile One, excuse me, Agile One, Guiding Global. I mean, big MSPs and well-known MSPs that have supported us from the very beginning, who have championed our program. Oh, I'm leaving out AGS. Oh my gosh. So, and that is a huge slip up by me because Allegiance has been with us from the very beginning, even
Interesting.
before we were ever in their program. So they were invested in what we were doing. They were invested in our diversity initiatives, and they really helped us kind of build the messaging around our program to just really harden that. So I would say our MSP partners have been the best, and we could not be where we are today without them. And our model for the centralized recruiting center that I mentioned earlier, our model supports that. So when you have conditions like we have today in a low cost and constrained environment, we're able to take jobs that others who are larger wouldn't be able to because they are larger and need a higher markup. our markup doesn't necessarily need to be as high just because our expenses are not quite as high. So we pride ourselves on being able to support our MSP partners in that way. And they in turn have really embraced us and what we do and see us as a differentiator, not only in providing top talent, but providing diverse talent as well.
So the MSP model works for you.
Absolutely.
And you don't think, oh my God, it's going to go away. No. You like
Nope.
it. You like working with the
We like it.
MSPs. Okay.
We like it.
Give
Because
me
what it
your
does is it allows us to invest. So we use the money that others would normally
explain that.
So we use money that others would normally invest in a sales team. We don't really have one. That money that we would otherwise use in that sales team is what we utilize to invest in our diversity programming. So the money that we give to the HBCUs and for scholarships and for pathways, all of those dollars are paid for based on a percentage of our revenue that we make through our MSPs.
Explain pathways, because people, I mean, I know what it is, but it'd be good to hear it from you. What is pathways? And
Absolutely. That's our internship program. That is where we call it pathways and internships. Internships is a more known term in the industry, but yeah, we call it our pathways program. It's like an associateship where the student is paired with a client, does substantive work for that client, and they do it. Normally, an internship is paid for by the client. In some cases, our clients do pay for that once they see what they're getting for that investment and they want to continue in that. But the initial investment is ours. We pay for small programs for the student to work directly with our client. And so all of that takes funding, right? And so when we talk about MSP model.
You pay for ex-student to work with a big corporation by giving them a stipend.
Yep, we sure do.
But the corporation has to also be ready and willing to accept these students. So that is why the relationship that you have built gets these students into the door, and the MSP is not involved in this because this is just an internship. Or is the MSP also involved?
Well, the MSP is involved. Some MSPs more than others. We have some MSPs who have co-branded our Pathways program, and they themselves are either co-branding that, meaning they want to put their name and branding on the Pathways program, or in other cases, that also means contributing financially to that program, and also even potentially hiring some of those students for internship opportunities as well. So it kind of comes in all flavors. There are really no limits to it, and we can customize it how the MSP has need, but those are some of the areas that some of our MSP partners have engaged with us.
Got it. I mean, this is I think, a difficult question, but maybe not for you. DE&I, what's your vision for it, and what do you actually see happening in the next few years, or even 2025?
So for primary talent partners, I know this year has been a big year for us. Even though it has been a slow year for our market, we've expanded to additional universities, and I don't see 2025 being any less. So from a diversity perspective, we're just going to continue to do the work that we're doing and continuing to help the students and schools with the funding that we provide. And we're just going to continue to grow and expand. I know we have our eye right now on a university not too far from Charlotte that we can utilize some students, because what we're finding is that, untapped talent can be anywhere. And so there shouldn't be a limit to where we look or the type of talent that we find. Just as diverse as we find our communities that we live in, that's exactly how diverse our staffing and our companies should be. So we're going to continue to make those investments to look in all of those areas and continue to expand and grow.
Anything besides university outreach? Do you look elsewhere besides universities? I mean, besides smaller universities, for the talent.
Well, one of those areas is a larger, well-known university. So we're looking there as well. So yeah, we will. I feel like we don't necessarily, or at least I don't personally want to exclude anybody. or any university, because I feel like what we're finding is that a lot of our students, when they matriculate through their four-year undergrad, they're also going to grad school. Sometimes the grad school that they select is a much larger grad school than their undergrad. And so that's where we're starting to see some of those relationships form and extend into some of those larger universities. So yes, I could see us definitely expanding in those areas as well, to not only continue to support the students that we have as they matriculate through their master's program or higher education, but then to also reach out to the students at those universities during their undergrad to introduce them to the same program that those students were. And you had asked earlier about opportunities to give back. The program kind of runs full cycle because, as the student is in their undergrad, we are mentoring them, or we'll have other mentors from the corporate environment to come in and mentor. And I think that's great. When they graduate, that doesn't stop. They become part of the alumni, and then they themselves can become mentors. So we don't really ever see an end to this program and the different lives that we've touched. We hope that what we're doing continues to be an extension and an evolution of who they are, and they take it forward, and we can continue to support them as they do that.
Thank you. Any takeaways before we say, we end this?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for this opportunity to talk a little bit more about Primary Talent Partners and what we do and how we do it. Always appreciate talking to you. You're so easy to converse with. So thank you. And yeah, like you said earlier, 2025 is going to be a big year, and I'm very excited and looking forward to it.
If you had to give one piece of advice to the staffing firms out there, what would you say?
Be authentic. Okay. I'd say be authentic. You had mentioned earlier about, a lot of companies kind of jumped on the DEI bandwagon back when it was a good thing to do and it was popular. But now that it's no longer popular, that's where you kind of sift people out and sift companies out. And, that's where I feel like there's authenticity. I honestly feel that this market is big enough for all of us. So, and we all aren't going after the same business. And not only that, we're not all going after the same business the same way. So just be authentic in who you are and what you're doing. And I always try to do everything with intention and purpose. And so I think when you find that, you find your passion. And once you find your passion, then it'll grow, it'll spread, because it can't help to, because people and things are just naturally attracted to that. So that's the one thing that I would leave. And
to the buyer, any last minute words?
Yeah, to the buyers. So Primary Talent Partners, we are excellent at providing top talent. So and we provide the best diverse talent too. And we said earlier that when we started a program, we focused on Black STEM. We found that when you open the door for one, you open it for all. And so maybe Black STEM worker representation isn't an area that you want to increase, but our Black STEM average is 3 times, actually 6 times the national average. Hispanic Latinx, 3 times. Women, we're 50%. And not only that, that's the talent that we represent and provide to our clients. That is the way that we staff ourselves internally as well. So it's not just something that we give away to others or promote others to do, but we actually practice that ourselves. So to our buyers, if that's what you're looking for a minority-owned company and a company that provides a diverse company and a company that provides diverse talent, I think those are key differentiators, because I know the diverse spend has been something that has been a major focus in the industry for quite some time. And I know it continues to be. But if you want an additional differentiator of not only being a diverse company, but providing a diverse talent, give us a call.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Tinisha. Thank you for the conversation. Appreciate it.